I've got a tremendous guest today. I've got Erik Matlick, the CEO of Bombora. And who better to talk everything intent, that's the show topic today, than the CEO of a leading intent data provider. So Erik, so happy to have you.
Happy to be here, and thank you for having me on the show today.
So intent data, it's kind of like the new ABM. Everyone's talking about it. Probably more important now than ever. Maybe start by unpacking, like, what is the wild world of intent? It's kind of the Wild West. What is it?
Yeah, so I would say you hit it head on. It is more important than ever, considering what's happening in the macro in unprecedented times. There's a lot of noise out there. There's still a lot of research being done by business professionals, but there's also a lot of false positives, meaning that just because businesses are doing research doesn't mean that they have a propensity to purchase anything anytime soon. And what we also know is that many companies are lowering their forecasts, lowering their budgets, which also means they're lowering their expenses. They're cutting budgets, which means that there are less companies that are planning to purchase right now. So intent data, in my opinion, is even more important today than it was even a few months ago, because what intent data can do is help you find those companies that are still healthy, companies that are still planning to purchase, and what they're planning to purchase in a market when it's harder to find those, right? And I'll back that up with Topo, who I'm sure you're familiar with, came out with a research report just a couple of weeks ago, stating that among businesses that are planning to use intent, they're up about 30%. So about 30% more businesses are planning to use intent data this year than last year. So there's more of an objective way of looking at it.
So let's rewind for 1 second.
Sure.
Because again, like ABM, intent is kind of a term that just gets tossed out there. So let's talk about the different types of intent.
Right. Sure. So, I like to look at it and you think about the cousin of B2B, which is consumer, right? Intent data has been around for a long time. Think of auto intenders, right? The idea of being able to target auto intenders, or travel or any other category in consumer. It's very similar in B2B, but there are some nuances or differences that are important, right? First of all, in the consumer world, all you have to do is identify that one individual that's planning on purchasing a car or a pair of shoes, and then
we got 10,
right?
Maybe if we're lucky, maybe 12, 14, right?
Right. So B2B, that's right. So you have a buying committee, right? So businesses, well, the challenging thing is that businesses really don't buy anything. It's individuals that buy things, but you have to find the committee of individuals that buy things. The other challenge in B2B is, unlike in the consumer world, if a consumer is doing research on something like a pair of shoes, pretty good chance that person is going to buy that pair of shoes or whatever the consumer product is, right? That's why they're doing that research. In B2B, it's actually different. In B2B, companies are always doing research. So how do you tell whether they're just doing research because that's their job to stay on top of the latest trends in security, for example, or are they actually going to purchase something?
Team of interns, right?
Right. So I think hopefully that answers your question, but there are some big differences, and that's sort of the definition in my mind of what intent data is. Isn't just that a company or an individual at a company is doing research. It's identifying the team of people that are doing the research at the company and being able to understand, is this just research or is this intent? Is there a baseline of what that company always does as far as what kind of research they're consistently doing? And has that baseline changed in a meaningful way up or down? And if it's gone up, then there's perhaps intent.
But just backing up, what we're talking about is the research that buying teams are doing, perhaps on your website, unbeknownst to you, but also more largely in like the B2B network of publishing sites and periodicals.
Yeah, that's a great distinction. So yeah, when it comes to intent, there are different types of intent, right? There's There's first party intent, which is, a user that came to your website, for example, or even there are publishers, right? Individual publishers with some scale. That's still considered first party intent.
So like G2 crowd, is that first party intent?
Correct.
What you call, I've been calling it second party, but I just made that up.
So there's it's a little bit of a gray area. So I use the term second party intent too, but it does get a little confusing. But yeah.
This episode is intent everything. What do we call the G2 crowds and the trust radiuses once and for all?
If it's to your own website, and they do own and operate a website, right? Just an individual publisher owns and operates their own website, that they would consider it first party intent. When you're selling intent data, I'm sorry?
But if I buy G2 crowd data on who's researching me and my competitors, what's that?
Yeah, so I would consider that second party intent because it's your audience, not their audience. It's your audience, and you're layering on intent from a second party, but your audience, right? If it was someone else's intent on not just your audience, but other audiences, that would be third party intent.
All right. I think we just defined it. Where's Wikipedia? Let's put it in there.
A healthy debate anyway.
I love it.
Yeah. That's the difference of first party. And then, the third party, we focus on third party intent, but first party intent's great. I like to say first party intent in a lot of cases is the highest quality. The only issue there is scale. And it's kind of like when you're learning how to ride a bike, it's great when you have training wheels on, you're not going to get hurt. But at some point, you're going to want to take the training wheels off, right? You're going to want to do more. You're going to want to put it in more places. You're going to want multiple teams in your company to use it. And that's where third-party intent comes from, right? You're eventually, if you're a medium-sized or a large organization, you're going to outgrow first-party intent because you're going to need more because you want to do more things with it. And you're going to get to a level where your other teams and other departments want to use it as well. And you need more scale, you need more leads for your teams, et cetera. And that's where third-party intent comes in.
Or if you're just starting out too, you might not have that much web traffic yet.
That's right.
Right? So you might have more of an outbound model.
And they're not mutually exclusive, right? I mean, you could use multiple sources. It's just a matter of balancing scale versus quality and those levers that you have.
So let's talk use cases. What is I've amassed first party intent, which is my de-anonymizing my website, second party, which is kind of the research publications, and third party intent, which is the broader B2B network. I'm sitting on all this data. What do I do?
So there are a number of use cases, of course. I'll start with sales prioritization, sales enablement, and that's one of the bigger use cases today. It's easier to measure, let's just say that. And there are a lot of places that you could put it. Your sales team always has an appetite for understanding who the companies are that they should be contacting and when they should be contacting them and with what message. So it even hits personalization, the sales use case. And according to Topo, again, about 68% of businesses that were surveyed are now using intent data for sales prioritization. So again, speaks to volumes, to how it's being used. Another use case that we see quite often is marketing, and that could be email marketing is a big use case inside of marketing. So marketing departments using it not only to identify who to send messages to out of their database, but again, what personalization, which message to send to which parties to move these prospects along in the funnel. And last, but certainly not least, is the advertising side of it. And that's, usually ABM, the ABM tactic, been around for a long time, not just identifying what companies to target, but when to target them. And again, with what message. And that even parlays really nicely into social advertising, LinkedIn, Facebook.
I'm an open book, so I like to talk about my first ABM stint, which I did not use any intent data. And it was a colossal waste of time and effort because the accounts were great for us to sell to, but they were under a rock. They didn't care. Right. And we put so much work into it. So I tell people, I don't know, this is maybe a little bit of a strong statement. And perhaps if you have a super defined TAM, really, really small, maybe you can do ABM without intent, but it seems like kind of a waste of energy unless you really know who's even interested.
Yeah, and that's one of our missions or visions as a company is really to change sales and marketing to be more sustainable, meaning targeting companies that actually care about what you're selling when you're selling them, rather than, like you said, just targeting everybody and hoping that you find somebody that's interested in what you do. And it's better for our industry if we start to change our ways.
All right, that's Intent 101, everything intent, our first segment here on Talking Sense. We like to keep it fresh and fun here at Talking Sense. So our next segment is called Talking Nonsense. And I am going to throw out 5 terms, pretty random stuff, mixed bag, jump ball. We got 60 seconds to cover. You ready, Erik?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Got this? All right. Topic 1, Half Moon Bay.
Half Moon Bay, it's where our annual event is held. Beautiful place. We're all about sustainability and ecosystems, and the concept was if we can get our ecosystem, which is our publishers, our data providers, our channel partners who put our data into activation, and all of our customers, agencies, and brands into one place, and then do it in a way that parallels sustainability in front of the ocean and our real physical world as well. So that was the idea behind why we chose Half Moon Bay.
Simon Sinek.
So
what is your why, Erik? What is your why?
Why? Yeah. So after I read a couple of his books, listened to a few of his TED Talks and podcasts, but there was a few of his concepts that I really liked, and I thought were really embodied the Bombora culture, and really that's the infinite game concept, right? It's an infinite versus finite game. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the what I really liked about it was that we can play this infinite game, which is we can do what's right for our customers, we can do what's right for our employees and company all at the same time, and not play by somebody else's rules with a certain time frame, right? We don't have to make decisions in a certain time frame. We don't have to have an IPO or exit or hit a specific budget on someone else's rules. We're going to do what's right as a company and for our customers.
Yes. Next topic: facts about surfing.
Okay. So I got started in surfing a little later in life after I'd sold my first company, but I really I'd always played a lot of sports. And what's amazing about other sports is you can basically do it whenever you want, almost wherever you want, whether it's basketball or tennis, you can just choose when you want to play, right?
Surfing's not like that.
Sorry?
Surfing's not like that?
Not like that at all, believe it or not. There are only waves when there are waves, right? And so what do you do about that? Unless you live on an incredible place where there's always waves. But so what do you do about that? You use data and technology, and you try to figure out weather patterns, wind patterns, and you try to predict when there are going to be waves so you can take that day off when there might be waves, right? And so I was really fascinated about that concept as a surfer. There's a lot of other things that are equally fascinating, but I think it also parallels our business, which is you use data and technology to find out and harness where the demand is, right? So similar to surfing.
So we're going to be in the barrel. Did I say that right? All right. So if you're not CEOing and you're not surfing, because we covered that one and that would be cheating.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm going to say travel. So I don't have to say surf. I would be traveling at this point, probably spending more time with my kids, my family, just exploring life.
So Airbnb has these super cool travel experiences that you can do on Zoom now.
On Zoom? Okay.
Yeah. I went to Barcelona for my birthday yesterday.
Hey.
And we made shoes.
I'll have to check
It
that
was
out.
so cool.
That's a great idea. I'll have to check that out. How was it?
Yeah. It was really cool. So favorite place you've ever been?
I don't really.
You got 24 seconds left.
Okay. I don't have favorites, but I will say I've probably been to Costa Rica more times than anywhere else, just because I must like it a lot. So I'll probably say that Costa Rica would be.
All right. Next topic. CMOs crushing it.
It's hard for me to single out anyone. I work with so many marketing department, so many CMOs, and most CMOs will tell you it's their team. I've in particular been close with the Cloudera team. They've been doing some really creative and innovative things. They're one of the teams that they come to us with ideas all the time, or we come to them with ideas, and they're quick to implement it. So, I'd say my hats off to the Cloudera marketing team.
So there's a stat that keeps me up at night as a CMO. And I think it was McKinsey who talks about CEOs not really understanding CMOs and what they do, and maybe not really trusting that we know what we're talking about. So
CEOs or just in general?
Well, this was particular to CEO. So you're a CEO, and you've been in, but you're also kind of in a unique spot because you're in MarTech.
Right.
So what do we need to do to?
I think the CMO job is one of the hardest jobs because it's one of those roles where everybody has an opinion and everyone thinks that they can do the job, right? So, I get that as a CEO and with my direct reports, why aren't they doing this? How come they're not doing that? It's so easy to do this. We just need this. And it's like, well, if you knew the other 800 priorities that marketing had, you might understand why they can't get to all of them, but also understanding what all of the different aspects of marketing. I think marketing has evolved quite a bit over the last 20 years, right? You have to now procure technology, and you have to build a MarTech stack, a system of record. You have to be able to integrate all these different objects and get them to work together. And then create momentum using various tactics, from PR to advertising to direct response and SDRs and et cetera. So it's a extremely complicated department in my opinion. I probably respect it and understand it more than most, and I probably don't have a full understanding of the day-to-day inside of marketing yet.
So what would you advise your CMO, me, other CMOs? Do we need to do a better job communicating what it is, or prioritizing, or?
Yeah, I think it's all communication again, and that is what we've worked on in the OKRs, in our management meetings, in our executive meetings, and even in our all hands is showing, what are the things that CMO or the marketing team is working on. What are the key results?
This is my favorite part of the show. What has been your biggest F up?
So I actually was fortunate to have a really big F up early in my career. My first business that I started with a partner, and left my cushy job, if you will, and started a company. And we raised, it was my first sort of ad tech, MarTech company, and we raised $16 million in March of 2000. So those of you who are watching may remember that was the height of right before the bubble, right? So literally the bubble was literally the day after we raised our money, and just everything went wrong. I was a young kid at the time and had some pretty big VCs who were going from meeting to meeting, putting out fires, and we were just one less thing that they wanted to deal with. And within 9 months, I had lost my job. At that age, you just think the world is over, right? I didn't know what to do. And there weren't really many jobs actually at that point in time. I was very lucky in hindsight because it gave me the idea to start a different business, which I did. And I learned so much from it because instead of raising $16 million, I raised just a tiny fraction of that from some very sophisticated angel investors who were very patient. And I wound up with a very successful company out of that experience.
I'm married to an entrepreneur, and I'm always in awe of what you guys do. I don't have the stomach for it. I just sort of ride along on the side. But, I think it takes a very special person to start something from nothing. So thank you for doing that and creating.
Start something from nothing and want to be alone a lot of the time.
It is. It's a tough one. So, but you seem to have mastered it. So thanks for everything you do. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your colossal fuck up that's led you to something much bigger and demystifying intent data for us. So appreciate it. Until next time.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.